Hi there, and thanks again for joining us here on Valley por Vida. I'm your host, Danielle Banda. And if you've ever felt like the world of social media can maybe be a little too tough to navigate, not to worry. I had the chance to sit down with social media and business coach, founder and CEO of SBG and Hustle and Socialize, TEDx speaker, and an all-around social media influencer. She wears many hats, Miss Cristina Giovanna Olivares. And she's got some great tips for us to keep in mind when it comes to our overall digital profiles. So go ahead and check this out.
If you are a business owner, one of the things that I will stress upon is making sure that you have a social media strategy. That's going to be the first thing that every single business owner is going to need, and understanding who your audience is, what types of content are you going to be putting on your social media platforms, and then really creating a well-rounded strategy that attracts your audience and also helps to build the know, like, trust factor with your audience, so that of course they can want to get to know you, like you, and eventually trust you so that you can get more sales, get more customers, you name it. So I always tell business owners, make sure that you have that social media strategy in place. Make sure that you do have the systems in place in order to create content, in order to edit your content. If you need to hire somebody, it's a really great opportunity for any content creators to come onto your team. But also, social media is one of the first places that a person is going to go to in order to get to know what you do. And so make sure that your hours are updated if you are a brick and mortar, that all of your information is correct, and that you have somebody behind the social media channels that can interact with your audience. Most days people go to Instagram and they go to Twitter to ask specific questions, or of course we've seen it all the time, maybe complain if something didn't go right within the business. So making sure that you have somebody that is going to be able to answer in a very concise and clear way, especially when it comes to customer service. That's super, super important. That's the business side. If you are somebody who doesn't do social media for your business and you are just a regular consumer, one of the biggest tips I can say is to make sure that you have social media boundaries in place when you are consuming your content. There's a lot of misinformation that goes around social media. I think, of course, in the news industry, things that kind of like go around. And so it's really important that we make sure that we fact check where we're getting our news sources from, making sure that it's coming from a very reliable source before you start sharing it out to specific people. And then of course, if you are noticing that social media is sort of draining you and it's really causing some just really negative undertones within your own life, to make sure that you completely create boundaries where you don't have to worry about being inundated with all this noise and information. So of course, social media boundaries are so important. I always like to put my phone away before I go to bed. I don't like to have my phone with me right before I go to sleep, because then I'll start scrolling. And so I have really clear boundaries. And if there is an account that is just making you feel very icky, it's okay to unfollow, to block, to mute those accounts. We have these controls at our fingertips. So always remember that you are in control of your own social media, but it's so important to fact check beforehand. I feel that social media, there's not a one-size-fits-all approach. I think so many people nowadays, we're understanding that, of course, in order to stay relevant, you do have to create content, and you have to create it at a very big frequency. I think we see a lot of businesses create video content at such a fast rate, but there's not one-size-all-fit approach to it. I always tell my clients that I coach in social media coaching that it is in accordance of what you are capable of doing. So if you know that you can only post 3 to 5 times a week, that is going to be your frequency, and it's important for you to stay consistent with that frequency. I think it's also important to understand when to sort of back away if there's things going on in the world, right? The state of the world. It's always important as a business owner to make sure you're reading the room. And so if there is something that we need to take a pause, to make sure that you pause your ads and that you don't post anything that could maybe, get you in trouble, or just be sort of, not relevant to what's going on in our world, if it's breaking news or something of that aspect. But if you are a business owner, it's really important to keep up with social media. Social media changes almost every single day. There's always some new platform, or Instagram and Facebook might be adding new features. So it's important to understand how to go about these new features, but also don't get that shiny object syndrome where all of a sudden you're going to start doing these things and it doesn't make sense for your brand. So those are the best ways to stay relevant, is just to make sure you have a pulse on what's going on, but at the same time work into what is great for your own strategy. I do private coaching, and you could follow me on Instagram at The Social Butterfly Gal. You can also head to my website, thesocialbutterflygal.net, and to learn a little bit more about what I do and how I could help you. My services are virtual, so even if you're not in San Antonio, because I'm in San Antonio, if you are throughout Texas, or even all parts of the country, I work with service-based business owners who are primarily the face of the brand, and I do corporate training, and I also have a women's conference called Hustle and Socialize.
Again, you can log on to thesocialbutterflygal.net to connect with Christina, and we definitely hope that you do. That's all we've got for now, but thanks for watching. We'll see you next time here on Valuable Vida.